Greetings folks, Kilt-Man here. How are you all? Hope you're all doing well. Now, Hellboy, Big Red himself. There he is. There's Big Red. You all know this guy. Brought to life for the films by Guillermo del Toro by Ron Perlman, the great Ron Perlman. He was born to play Hellboy. Whoop, don't fall over. And there's a little version of him there as well. Now, Guillermo del Toro did two movies, Hellboy, and then Hellboy, the Golden Army. And great films they were too. But they were fairly, low budget, given the whole medium of comic book movies, getting big cinematic runs. And, but they did very well. They were very popular. They were critically well regarded. Commercially, they made a profit. Not a substantial profit, but enough to certainly, get the fans hoping for another movie. Now, that movie, Hellboy 3, because the way Hellboy 2 ends, you're quite clearly going into another part of this saga with the ongoing family of characters. Hellboy's found out he's going to be a daddy, but goes nowhere because you never do get the third part. Because although the films made some money, they didn't make enough. So the studios thought, look, we can't really take a risk on this now. And Guillermo del Toro, of course, he's gone on to, he does a film for himself, then he'll do a popular movie, then another film for himself, a personal movie, but like Devil's Backbone or Pan's Labyrinth, and then he'll do things like Mimic and Blade 2 and Pacific Rim, So he'll leapfrog from little things, little personal projects, to big Hollywood blockbusters. But sadly, in and out of all of this, the Hellboy franchise slipped from his fingers. And it was a sad day because, a lot of us fans, and I'm a massive fan of Hellboy, I grew out of Batman, shock horror, still love Wolverine, and Spider-Man. Although I love the movies, but I stopped reading the comics a long time ago. But I never stopped reading Hellboy. I mean, look at that artwork. Look at that artwork. Look at this. Look at this stuff. The colour schemes. It's just absolutely beautiful to behold. Each panel is a work of art. And the character of Hellboy himself, he's half demon, but he's working for the sake of humanity, to rid the world of other demons. He is the world's greatest paranormal detective. He works for the BPRD, the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defence. And, he's a household name in this universe. He's known, he's a commodity, he's a hero. An anti-hero. Chain smokes, drinks a lot, swears, and he's very violent too. Now, this didn't all translate spectacularly accurately to the movies, because he toned it down a little bit more. He was a little less violent. He didn't swear so much. He did drink, he did smoke, but anyway. And they gave him a love of cats in the films. I don't know where that came from, but anyway, it's not in the books. Or is it? No, it's not. So we all wanted this third part, and this whole thing about the combination of fantasy, of horror, of sci-fi, blended with folklore, a lot of Celtic folklore, Irish fairies, Scottish demons, witches, goblins, ghouls, ogres, trolls, curses, warlocks. You've got all of this. H.P. Lovecraft is in there, alongside M.R. James. So you've got ghosts, and you've got the elder gods, the old ones, all these tentacled demons from another dimension. This guy, he keeps them back. He's our last line of defence. In fact, he's our only line of defence. But the right hand of doom, because if you're a fan, he's part of his prophecy is that he brings about Ragnarok, the end of all time, the apocalypse, in other words. And that right hand, which is stone, Hans will know where that came from if you read the books, but that is crucial to how the world is going to end, and he plays a huge part in it. That's his destiny. Although he tries to get out of that, because he's a good guy, doesn't want to ring about the apocalypse. But once these things are set in motion, it's very hard to change these things, isn't it? So 2019 is looming on the horizon, and rather than getting part 3, of what would be a celebrated trilogy for Guillermo del Toro and Ron Perlman, who cemented the character as his own. We're getting a reboot from Lionsgate. What? So you couldn't afford to do a part 3, but you're going to just reinvent the character again. Yes, they are, because it's now gone to a guy called Neil Marshall. Neil Marshall is a great genre director. He did Dog Soldiers, the Squaddies versus Werewolves saga set up in Scotland. Absolutely wonderful movie. Brilliant. The banter, the action, the gore, he nailed it. Fantastic. He then did The Descent. He went from having an all-male cast, or basically almost all-male cast, to an all-female cast in The Descent, where a bunch of female potholders go caving and encounter cannibalistic underground dwellers who make their lives a misery. You know, how dare you encroach upon our caves? And Jesus Christ, that was a gory, violent, and genuinely terrifying film. Sadly, because he was the great British hope for horror, the great British director of horror, he then went and made Doomsday. And Doomsday was a mashup of Mad Max, Escape from New York, and of all things, Excalibur. And for me, it didn't work. It was just too much. It was a fever dream collision of, it's basically, look, he began to believe his own hype, did Neil Marshall. I am a wonderful director. I can do anything. I can make it all come together on screen. Give me all the toys in the shop. Give me all the candy from the top shelf. And he just threw everything into the pot, and the pot overturned, it spilled everywhere, and it was a fucking mess. I know people who adore that movie, and believe you me, I would long to love that film, but I don't. He then went on to direct episodes of Game of Thrones and Westworld and other stuff. And then he gets this gig. And, you know, first of all, I was like, so we haven't got Guillermo del Toro. And then the next shockwave, we haven't got Ron Perlman as Big Red. Well, what's the fucking point? What's the point? But the creator of Hellboy, the guy who wrote these comic books, with the fabulous, dazzling imagination that he has, and sheer inventiveness and wit, Mike Mignola, Mignola, but it's pronounced Mignola. He totally endorsed, and he's on board for this movie. He's a big creative, drive behind it. So you've got that in his favour. Then you've got, I've forgotten the guy's name. What is it? David Harbour. I've always got the little list of names there, because my memory these days is so appalling. David Harbour from Stranger Things. Sheriff Hopper. He was superb in Stranger Things. He's a big, gruff, beer-swilling, pot-bellied, chain-smoking. Perfect. Perfect. And he's gone into, he did strenuous workouts to try and trim down, his lardy ass and become a muscle-bound beefcake demon from the nether realms. And I've seen him. He looks fantastic. Yeah. He's in a bodysuit, but he's had to fill that bodysuit, and it's no small matter. He did 4 weeks of hellish boot camp, and then he did months of intensive weight training, and then got shredded. And my God, he's put the effort in. I've watched his videos. I've watched his workouts. Good lad, very impressive. So yeah, well, yeah, that's okay. Okay, Neil Marshall can do gore, can do violence, can get the banter, can create a good scene. Yeah, okay, all right. David Harbour looks the part. Yeah. Well, what's your story going to be? How are you going to do this? You are rebooting this, so you're not going to do like a part 3. We're not going to continue that. We're going to just start afresh. Please don't give us an origin story. No, we don't need origin stories. Don't do that anymore. Please, no more origins. Take for granted that people going to watch this film know who he is. End of. Okay. So what they're doing, it's Hellboy, Rise of the Blood Queen. The Blood Queen, played by Mila Jovovich, or Jovovich. She's Nimue, the Blood Queen. Now, if you're a fan, you already know where this saga is going. And it's kind of strange they've leapt into such a big one, because at the start of this, it's actually, I have the books here. It's this, The Wild Hunt, followed by The Storm and the Fury. Yes. And by the way, a tip to people here. Never lend out your books to people that you thought you could trust, to come back like that. Not happy. And this saga, if they follow what's in the book, it's the Blood Queen has a massive vendetta against humanity. She will rise up, slay numerous witches, reenact the prophecy, and have to, try to take out mankind. Part of this prophecy, of course, is that Hellboy must intervene, and Hellboy must summon up and lead an army of the dead to fight her and her minions. And interestingly, a lot of her minions are actually forest critters and farmyard animals like pigs, which have been transformed into sort of beast men versions. And there's some big ass monsters in it too. And you've also got the saga of King Arthur, because in this particular story arc, Hellboy will encounter Morgan Le Fay, and he'll learn his heritage, which is a revelation to all of us, because we all thought we knew where he came from. But according to this, he's actually descended from King Arthur as well. Partly. From Mordred and Morgana Le Fay, who sired him somehow. So you've got Excalibur. Nicely, there's a big poster that's just come out, and it's David Harbour in full makeup, looking absolutely incredible, and he's wielding Excalibur on fire over his shoulder. All red, muscle bound, looking mean and nasty, fire and chaos we have behind him. He's clearly bringing brimstone and hellfire along for the ride. So that's interesting, isn't it? So they're going to leap into such a big epic saga right from the word go. It's dodgy ground, that. I mean, if you look at some of the franchises that have attempted to do something similar, like for instance, the Star Trek reboot, the first Star Trek movie, this is Chris Pine as Captain Kirk, was great. I loved it. I thought it was a tremendous new idea, a great reinvention, full of energy, full of zest. Nailed the comedy, nailed all the banter, nailed the characters with a slight retweaking. And then for part 2, Star Trek Into Darkness, they brought in the most famous, the most beloved Star Trek story of all, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, where Spock sacrifices himself in the most tear-jerking manner imaginable, and then you have to go on a search for Spock to bring him back from the dead, and all this. And they went and did that, like, so quickly, and it ruined everything. It ruined that franchise for a lot of people. It was too much too soon. DC, the DC cinematic universe. Well, we all know how shit they've been. Aside from Wonder Woman, they've been absolute crap. They've mishandled every character and every bit of this franchise. Although I've got high hopes of Aquaman, and so have they, because if that fails, they are fucked beyond belief. But what do? They Man of Steel. They bring Superman into the new universe, into the new cinematic universe, and then right afterwards, once you've established him, they go and fucking kill him in the next movie. Batman versus Superman, in the crash course, headlong pursuit to get the Justice League together, to speed up in their intense rivalry with Marvel, who'd spent over 10 movies building up the Avengers and all these different characters and bringing them all into the big battle of Ragnarok and the Infinity War. Christ almighty. No, so that's my fear of Hellboy, Rise of the Blood Queen. Are they attempting to do too much too soon? Rumour has it that they're not going to bring in Abe Sapien, who's Big Red's amphibious man-fish buddy, super intelligent detective, and who's in the first 2 Del Toro movies, and a wonderful character. Liz Sherman, who is the telekinetic, pyromaniac who can set fire to the world if she wants to, who's the love interest of Big Red. Not so much in the comics, so that's a bit of it. That's probably a good thing to leave that out. And also, probably going in the film's favour. So see how I'm leapfrogging? There's yin and yang to this. There's good points, there's bad points. All potentially. It's R-rated. Yes. That's your big nail there. Boom, we've nailed it. make it R-rated, make it nasty, make it brutal, because the books are. There's lots of blood and chaos. There is comedy, there's mystery, suspense, there's thrills, there's clever, witty banter, but there's gore aplenty and uber violence. Now, Guillermo del Toro shied away from a lot of that. There was plenty of dark, macabre stuff in there, of course there was. But this has, now it's got carte blanche to go a hell of a lot further. And why have they opted to do this? Look at Deadpool. Mega success on a low budget, R-rated. Proof that R-rated comic book movies really do have an audience and can be really successful. Logan, the last Wolverine story. Exceptionally violent, very brutal, very gory, lots of swearing, very successful with critics and with crowds. So it's easy to see why they're going to go down this road, and it makes a lot of sense. And for that, I applaud you, Lionsgate, and I applaud you, Neil Marshall, for having the guts to go through with it. So I've got great hopes now. After me saying, oh, you can't do this, you shouldn't do that, and oh my God, Guillermo del Toro, why? We need you back. Ron Perlman, I miss you already. I do. And it's a shame that we're never going to get that third part, because that was going somewhere. It is a shame, such a shame. But we've got this. And we've got some great actors in there as well. Thomas Hayden Church is in there. And Stephen Graham, who is a wonderful and local to me actor who's hit the big time, and he's playing one of Nimue's many minions, but a reluctant second lieutenant sort of thing, who's a man pig. Really doesn't like Hellboy as well, and they have a few smackdowns. So it's going to be quite enthralling to see how this pans out. Although there is another downside. After being on the up for the R rating, we've got to come down a bit now, because they just test screen this, and from what I've heard and seen on tweets, it didn't go down well at all. That's not a shocker in stratospheric proportions, because a lot of films don't test well and then you go in and retweak stuff. They've got time. But what is slightly distressing is this film was scheduled for a theatrical release in January 2019. It's now been put back till April 2019. So that's quite a lot of stuff that's taking place behind the scenes there, by the sound of things. Also, the trailer, which was shown at the New York Comic Con, which is a much smaller Comic Con, not like your San Diego, they put on a trailer for that, and that got leaked online and was instantly pulled down, and channels were taken down, and people were threatened with legal action. If you ever show this trailer again, do not upload it. Lots of copyright was thrown against them. That's also not a good sign either, that it obviously didn't go down well. Now, if you're canny, you'll find that trailer, and I've seen it. And I had no decision whether it looked good or it didn't look bad. And David Harbour looked brilliant as the Big Red. A bit meaner, a bit more, brutish, which is only right. That's only fair. There was a bit of humour in it. There was certainly a lot of blood and guts. There was a lot of shooting taking place in it, and heads and bodies getting splattered with heavy gunfire, mainly from this guy. And it had a darker slant. It certainly seemed more mature, more adult, but it had lots of little humorous bits thrown in as well. So I couldn't really tell if it had nailed what kind of mood it was going for overall. But that was just a teaser trailer, really. So you can't really base anything on that. And the version that I found was of very poor quality as well, and the sound was dead muffled. So hey, I didn't see it at its best anyway. But another thing I'd love to address, and I don't know if it's in this film or not, and I severely doubt it. The comic book incarnation of Hellboy has goat's legs and cloven hooves. So he's drawn as big, hulking, but his little tiny legs are. And obviously, as you can see, the Hellboy cinematic so far has great big boots. Bloody big boots on him. Look at them. And And I believe that David Harbour, his version, goes the same route. He's going to be in boots. I mean, I suppose it's impractical and it's also expensive. You're going to CG these cloven hooves. In every scene, you're going to see his legs in. So, yeah, just go with that, I suppose. I'd still love to see, the fully fledged comic book version on the big screen, because it just gives him such an unusual look, as if that wasn't unusual enough as it is. A great big stone right hand, that bloody big gun, the horns that he has to continually grind down, because once those horns are fully, aroused, and he's got the total horn, then shit's going to hit the fan, because it's going to turn flaming hot and nasty and hellish. But in this film, you definitely do see that those horns are there in a couple of sequences. So I expect, like on that poster, that terrific poster with the flaming Excalibur, his horns are fully erect and in full effect. So, Hellboy 2019, Neil Marshall style. Gotta say, I'm looking forward to it. Because I love this character and I want it to be a success. We can't all have what we wish for. I wanted Ron Perlman back. I wanted Del Toro back. I wanted Selma Blair back as Liz Sherman. But, because sexy goth girls, yeah man, Kilt-Man likes them. Incidentally, playing behind me there is Danny Elfman's score for Hellboy the Golden Army, Hellboy 2. Terrific score. And the score for the new film is done by Benjamin Wallfish. Wallfish? Wallfish? I'm not sure how you pronounce it. There's P's and F's and SH's and I's and I don't know. But the good news about that is, this is the guy that composed the score for the new It. And what a great score that was. I wasn't a huge fan of the movie. I didn't find it scary at all. I wasn't that bothered. Anyway, I'm a minority. Everyone else adored it. But I thought the score was phenomenal. Genuinely terrifying. Just a beautiful score. And knowing that he's doing the score for this. So, at the end of the day, where are we with this? We should have been totting up the plus points and the bad points. And I don't know where we are. We're probably doing about level, I think. But come on. It's Big Red. It's Hellboy. Back on the big screen. Please, well, maybe shouldn't be praying to him. Should be praying down there. Please, elder gods and, Lovecraftian demons from the outer realms. Pray to them that this is a big success and that we do get a slew of more Hellboy adventures, all R-rated, all fabulously gory, gothic, brooding, intense, and borderline apocalyptic. So, guys, if you haven't already, watch the original Hellboy movies and do yourself a favour. Do get some of these Hellboy graphic novels, because these are wonderful bits of artwork themselves and beautiful stories, incredibly well told, very haunting, very enigmatic, often very funny. So, Hellboy, let's do it. In the meantime, guys, I'm going to see you all later.